Well, here we are on week 10, going on 11. One more week after next week. It'll be interesting to see what progress everyone's made, and I'll make sure I give a report about that. One of the things that I want to talk about is some thoughts that I have written in my journal, so I'll probably be reading them to you and then just making some brief comments about them. Self is the area where we try to get away with things that we can't get away with. In other words, this whole idea of nutrition, this idea of self-care, this is what I talked about last night, that I've seen drug and alcohol addicts less resistant in this area than people with their food, because this is the area that we typically hang on to, because we can fool ourselves and say it's no big deal, it's just food, we're not going to get a DUI, we're not going to jail if we eat food and eat things that aren't good for us. But nonetheless, it does become we do become a prisoner to it. So what I would see is this is really an overflow. It really reveals the outcroppings of our heart. It's an area where self-centeredness, self-sufficiency, rebelliousness, disobedience surfaces. And since it happens in relationship to food, we often will project that food is the issue. And we've talked about that for many weeks. But we fail to see that it's really an introject of ourselves. See, there's so much sneaking, lying, covering up that goes on with food, because we believe it's an issue that we're going to protect. It's an issue that we really maybe don't really want to do anything about. We say we do, but when it comes to paying a price or making sacrifices for it, or saying no to ourselves, we really don't want to do it. And some of us are figuring that out as we go through the program, which is, it's all right, no judgment. But we need to figure out what is it that you want to do. If you don't want to do it, then don't. But if you really do, it's going to cost you something. And in recovery, we often say you're going to have to chase your recovery as hard as you chase your addiction. So this is the area where it's going to really tell on you. I mean, I could be doing things in secret that you're never going to know about, but when I am not doing proper self-care, it is definitely going to show up. It'll show up perhaps in moodiness, maybe if I'm not sleeping well, if I'm overworking. The weight thing isn't obvious. It's going to show up on our weight. It's going to show up in health issues. One of the things I learned at a seminar that I went to on Monday was when there's a lot of fat in the body, that is really precursor to cancers, it's precursor to diabetes. And we can fool ourselves and say, oh, well, I'm healthy, but it's never healthy. Statistically, the disease co-occurs when there's an abundance of fat. I mean, even cancer, it breeds, cancer cells can breed off of that. So our sins or our self-centeredness or our lack of surrender will definitely show up on ourselves. So my thought is this: there's so many things in this world we can't help. I really can't help, perhaps, if I have a prepropensity to cancer. It may be in my genes. I may get it anyway. However, there are some things that I can help, and what I can help is my nutrition. I can pretty much guarantee, I think, if I eat healthily, foods that are good for me, I probably will not get type 2 diabetes. Probably not. It would have to be some other things, endocrinology-wise, that would have to be going on. So some of the things that we can do something about really are our nutrition, the care of our physical body, what we put on it, what we put into it, exercising, but also seeing to our emotional fitness, figuring out why it is that we do the things we do, or why it is we don't do the things that we need to. Spiritual help also is an area that we can do something about. But Satan's trickery is that food becomes the projection, and now we think it's not a heart issue because the heart is able to continue to hide that and make excuses and justify and rationalize. So what really causes change? We concluded last night in our session that it's really a broken spirit. And I really believe until our spirits are really broken, we are probably not done yet. We're probably not ready to change. Salvation begins with the realization that I've really messed it up. I need help. I need Him. I'm desperate. I'm hopeless apart from Him. I'm broken. I'm haunted by the story of Pi, and if anybody saw it, when the tiger was dying and Pi was holding the tiger on his lap, and he said, "We are dying now, Pi." And that's what we need to do. We need to see that we need to die to some things. And we may not. I say we need to, but you may not. However, if you do, you'll probably start to really live. And we'll probably start to realize if we die with Him, if we crucify ourselves daily, and that doesn't mean beat ourselves up. It just means surrendering ourselves to Him, that we'll probably have a good and an abundant life. So I really believe if change is going to occur, that we have to really begin with a sense of humility, and that's the idea that I need to have a brokenness of spirit. Look what I've done to myself. I'm not taking care of myself. My health is broken down. My weight's up. I have prediabetes. My cholesterol might be high, dangerously high. My heart valves or arteries are clogged. All those things. And so we really need to be able to say, boy, this is really sad. This is really difficult. But I can really see where I just have not really done good self-care. I've not taken care of this temple that God has given me. And because of that, I'm suffering, and perhaps people in my family are suffering as well. And I also think it's about honesty. No matter how long this program has went on, I still think some of us are not totally honest about where we're at. And not because we're necessarily trying to be deceitful, but more because we really don't have the awareness yet. We really haven't really got into serious prayer about it. And yet there might be some who are totally honest about where they are. Those are the people who are really going to change. Totally honest about where they are, about their self-care, their emotional care, their spiritual care. That really breeds growth. So I want to ask you very simply, are you ready to be honest? Have you been honest? You don't have to tell me, but would you invite God to really look into your heart? Would you give Him permission? He sees it anyway. And will you ask Him to really reveal to you any pockets of dishonesty, pockets of that you've been holding back, some of those pigs that you continue to hold on to, and maybe to really even ask yourself, do I really want this? Do I really want to be healthy? Because if you really do, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, intellectually, all those areas, it's going to cost you something. But if you're not willing to pay the price, because it's going to cost you your time, it's going to cost you your self-centeredness, it's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of energy to get out of the way, to really let God come in and do through you what He really wants to do. So I guess that's my conclusion. That's my podcast challenge. Have you been really honest? Will you be really honest? Are you capable of being honest? Or have you rationalized and justified so much that, okay, so that's okay. If you have and you figure that out, then finally get honest before God. Practice humility, practice confession. If you do, you might be in a position where you would be able to imagine yourself renewed.